Welcome back, Libra. We're here to do your zodiac sign, and I'm sure many of you are wondering, is June going to be any better than last month? Yes, it is going to be different. We can be coming into this portal where we energetically are really tuning into what our heart's desires are and really trying to make sense. We're going to first jump into the content and how this is broken down. Number one, we're going to cover in a brief overview the up-and-coming transits and your must-knows. Anything relating to where the positions are, straight into the Moonology, and then for singles and couples, career, business, wealth and wellness, and anything else I may feel is going to be quite critical for you to view. Now, without further ado, let's take a look at the big fives of what are coming up, and five is all about change. The five big must-knows are Saturn is going to be in Pisces, moving retrograde from the 17th of June. Neptune also will directly be joining it on the 30th of June. Pluto will be moving back into Capricorn. Really not looking forward to that, but nevertheless, it's something that we have to go through, and it will be moving back and forward. So yes, re-entering the house, and I'll discuss what that's going to mean for you. And Venus entering into Leo for its very long stay. It will be there for a while. It's going to retrograde next month. So these key subjects of what I'm going to mention for you can be some very bold transformations, especially because Mars will also be in the house of Leo. So for you energetically, with both Saturn and Neptune retrograding more towards mid-month and the end of the month, you're going to get the shadow phase. You'll get the vibration of it coming through. This really links to your sixth house. Sixth house has given you guys a little bit of a bugbear. You might have had some quite large things happen over the years, especially where it comes to your daily routine, your structures, how you cope with things. With Saturn moving retrograde, the way to actually understand is we could be reviewing how we're handling those things, reviewing our belief systems, the old paradigms, and really going inside to see how we can manage them. Is it manageable? Saturn's going to be great in the mix working with Neptune in the long run, so to speak, because it's going to help us manifest our dreams. This can be getting your nutrition, your diet, your physical routine back into some sense of grace. And a lot of you particularly might have felt that you were in this eat, pray, repeat, and really needing to shake off those cobwebs. It was a very deep month last month, and it was causing a lot of people quite deep emotions. And I do believe as Pluto moves back into Capricorn, this is really linking to your fourth house of home and family. So there can be some reworkings in those areas. It could be with your children. It might be with your physical environment. Definitely could be where you're wanting to really tuck in and get to the root core of any drama, trauma, and emotions. And some of those things, again, as mentioned, might have come up last month. Now, as Venus moves into the house of Leo, you are a Venus sign. So yes, it's going to be really connecting to your physical romantic connections, your image, your body, the food that you like. Mars is going to be there as well. So it's quite interesting. Mars and Venus by the 5th. Both in the same sign. This is really your 11th house. You can be taking on more social responsibility. You also may feel, for some of you could be working very hard to go up the ladder. There also could be, for some of you, some conflict coming around friendship groups. Now, the benefit is in a Venus retrograde, which will be coming the following month, is you see the good, the bad, the ugly. So the key dates, really, as mentioned, keep an eye on those areas. And we're going to have a quick look at the moon phases, the key dates you need to know, and how to directly relate to it, and then straight into your romance house. Now, as for our moon energy, last month we had the eclipse. Many of us are also kind of still coming off the back end of that and hoping that this is going to be different. Now, the first moon of the month is going to be on the 4th of June. It's going to be a full moon in Sagittarius. And we can have a lot of areas at a collective level come up. This can be cultural beliefs, values, travel, trade, siblings, education, training, learning, value systems, litigation. So it can be quite large things. Now, moon can be emotion. It can be to do with our physical homes and our family environments. It also just can directly relate to the house it's going through. But moon, emotions, family, mother, Linking to Sagittarius, there's a full moon happening. This can be to do with paperwork. You can be wrapping up some paperwork. A routine can be changing. You also could be changing something to do with the vehicle, a license, a contract, a partnership, and there also can be from some very in-depth conversations. I would say, because it is a full moon, be careful of your eating. You could emotional eat. You're definitely going to be more in the first half of the month interested in spicy food. So it can be something full of flavor, something from a foreign culture. You also may feel, instead of being at home, it's time to, again, shake off the metaphorical cobwebs and actually go away, go on a holiday. So for some of you could really be longing for that physical break and to be doing something that's a little bit more fun and a little bit more in alignment with who you are. You also could have this moment where you are feeling as though you don't really resonate with people around you for a moment. But it also can be where something really wraps up and it comes full circle. But definitely checking paperwork, maybe signing a contract, having a brand new beginning in that department, and looking at your future moving forward. Now, as we do move to the new moon in Gemini on the 18th, you are going to have an opportunity to, again, look at the Jupiter energy. And this is probably the portal where you can find that there's going to be expansion. This could be for home-based businesses, education, launching of products and services, going on a holiday, upskilling, training individuals. So these are the ways that this moon also can link to you. Now, it can just be the emotions, it can be the intuition, and it can be quite psychic. I would use crystals at this time. It's a real good time to connect with your friendship groups. Just be aware of the other two transits going on, because as I mentioned, with Saturn going retrograde later in the month and then Neptune joining suit, Neptune is going to help us have some revelations. And, I really haven't had the most fun with Neptune. I'll be perfectly honest. It's great in the long run, because when we have these revelations, it's like, oh, I had this major plan and I've got this goal and this dream in mind. And during its retrograde, we see the flaw in the system. And so sometimes, yes, we can actually get quite cross and we could feel very, very silly, because the solution could be right under our nose. But it also can be how you are going to restructure your routine to get the success, to get the stability, so that you personally can have the good days, the working days, and your own personal life. And I feel you're going to be really reworking this area during its retrograde, and it can alleviate some of that pressure. And you're definitely going to assess whether something is worth it or not. Capricorn, on the other hand, with Pluto going back into this house, can be a bit of a bugbear, as I mentioned, with these moon phases. On your social setting of things, this month could bring some tests to your most intimate connections, but not at a terrible level. More be in awareness that there could be an old situation that comes back up. It could be with your children. It might be with your daily routine, your physical home environment, or family at a very temporary level. But there also could be a possibility that you're re-looking at something old you were doing and wanting to go back to it. So yes, could it be unfinished business? It also could be some opportunities from the past that you just didn't see. So be open to it. Doesn't have to be all terrible. It's already been in that position for almost 20 years. So we're having a wrap up of it. Now, without further ado, let's look at segment by segment, both psychically and astrologically, what I see for you. Now, into your romance house. Some of you are saying, Yildiz, is it going to be better? Yes, this is going to be a very interesting 2.5 years, I would say. Now, this is the introduction. We kind of had it, I would say, about 2 months ago, as we had the eclipse in Aries. And that was quite a big one. There could have been some shakeups in the romantic department. It might have been old feelings that came up. We then moved into May, and it was like, oh, good grief. Is this scorpionic energy going to dissipate? So it was pretty heavy. But we are challenging really the status quo, and you're getting ready to have a brand new chapter. Now, those of you that are single, in typical style and fashion, yes, with the cliche of Venus going into shadow and gearing up, ready to go retrograde next month, there are opportunities for blasts from the past to come back, if that is something you are looking for. And sometimes even when you're not looking for it, these things do happen. The other thing I will say is because we will have the nodes next month move, June, July, yes, next month move. That portal is now becoming not just a moment in time, but approximately 2.5 years. So you've got a big window there. If you were thinking, good grief, am I going to be left on the shelf for things that, no, you're not going to be. Okay. That as long as you're open to love, there is an opportunity there for you to shine bright like a diamond. A lot of you spiritually and emotionally are going to change. So we're almost going through this tunnel into this brand new chapter and introduction into it. Like I mentioned, April, we had the introduction to this domain. I think a lot of you were really ready for getting back out there, having things move, shaking the status quo up, and having some more fun. I do particularly feel there is a possibility that there could be some major conversations. You also could be spiritually really looking at your alignment of your values and another's. You could also be attracting in people from a different culture or somebody particularly that travels a lot, drives a lot. It's very Jupiter in nature. With Venus entering the house, you also do have opportunities that if you were to network and to look for a love interest, it tends to be with Venus in the house. And like I said, you are a Venus sign. It's going to be very passionate. You're going to be more assertive this time round, especially with this vibration. You also may become more playful and giving. Make sure to keep the healthy boundaries there with individuals, especially if you have a lot on your plate. I would also say you can meet people in locations, example, work, socialization, through family this month. So try to be open with that because there is that opportunity. The other thing I'll say is stay tuned for the tips we give you, which I will give you a few before we go into the next cycle of this. When we do move into Venus retrograde, it generally is better dealing with an old acquaintance, an old connection. Why? It's because there's generally unfinished business. It's coming back for a reason. Now, does it have to be a person? Not necessarily. We also spiritually are going to be going through changes. So it could be particularly that you need to review how you feel, what you're doing, what you're feeling in the mix. You know, do you mesh? So I always look at Venus retrograde as the good, the bad, the ugly. You're all loved up and you're eager to go when it first moves retrograde. You then get to the second stage and you're like, maybe. And then the last part, it can just be very negative, but it has to happen that way so we can weigh the scales. All right. Another thing is, if you are meeting somebody during a Venus retrograde, it is not a positive omen to get married during that time, to commit solidly to a circumstance during a Venus retrograde. If you're going to do such this month or flow through that vibration with old individuals come the following month. If you are meeting somebody new, what I would suggest is just really going with the flow, having less expectations. By the time we move into the direct motion, you then have a more solid way of viewing it and actually moving forward with it without the conundrum. Now, those of you who are in a physical coupledom, I do see a lot of changes happening here, and especially because Taurus did move into your 8th house. Those of you both single and couple are really looking for stability. There could have been some intimate wounds that came up for both individuals here in the mix. I also do feel what you're going to attract potentially is a person that is very stable. You may find at this point in time there are some things that are going on in their own personal lives, and both parties here in the mix are trying to find a new stable ground. And this can be very positive, especially in partnerships, really linking up and working together. And you are going to be very focused on your partnership area, your contract area, and your image as well. Your image definitely is going to go through some changes. This may not necessarily be because you're choosing for it to be. It could just be inadvertently because of things that you're doing. I'm getting hammer-dialed by my daughter. Now, what else can I say? I do feel, again, this can be a time where there could be big purchases, big grand gestures. big plans that you're actually forging. I would say from an emotional point of view, there can be some testing points, and especially people can have a lot of opinions based on your connections. And this, again, I would say is for singles and couples. Is that people, family members, friends can really have some opinions about the choices that you're making in your romantic life. Try to not personalize these things, sit with it, digest it, and see if it directly links. So I think that's generally the healthy way to do such. But you definitely can be very, very social, and you can be attracting a lot of luck into your life. Now, those of you in the career sector, you're really going to be working hard, Libra, okay? Plus, when we do have the retrograde, what you are going to find is better ways to address things. So I would say be very careful with superiors. And I'd also say for some of you, you might have been doing a short course or some mini training. You could have been really doing a lot of reading or researching. And I definitely see things to do with social media boding quite well for you. So it can be new contracts, home hustles, home businesses. Some of you could be returning to reviewing that. I also feel there are potentials of reviewing new chapters in education. Now, education doesn't have to be physically going into a location and, getting a degree. It also can be life education, doing something outside the box. For some of you, you also could be educating others, but there is a new way you are dealing with your routine. And there also could be something to do with a contract that you are really trying to find the balance. Now, while both Saturn and Neptune are retrograde, this is a time where you can reevaluate the dreams and the goals and really weigh those scales, and it can take some of the pressure off. You can feel a little bit disillusioned. Wait for the solutions to come. And I definitely see there could be some positivity where it does come to wealth, both yours and of other people's. You do have lady luck there, but you definitely are trying to build for a reason. So try and trust the process of those decisions you're making. As mentioned, wealth and lady luck can derive from other people's money. This can be anything. Again, I can't financially advise you. I can tell you what I psychically and astrologically see. One can be lady luck linking to lotteries. The other can be your investments, your net worth, the physical work you're putting into circumstances. Definitely can be generating a lot more. I also feel you may need to be quite careful, especially if you are gearing up ready to go on a holiday, with your expenses. Mars in that position can actually make you spend a little bit more than usual, more coming in, more going out. But I do see there's a potential of large growth here, and I do feel that you're willing to make those sacrifices to get those things that you directly are wanting. Be careful with your teeth as well as we do move into your wellness zone. Teeth and bones with Saturn retrograde. This could be a bit of a delay. It could be that you're reviewing this area, reworking it. And I do feel for some reason the time frame also can be shifting. Things can be moving up. Things can be wrapping up. And this could be by the new moon. So don't be surprised if in the first half of the month that, some movement actually comes, especially for those of you that were trying to deal with such. I do particularly feel some of you are going to be more intrigued by spice, flavor, chili, different cultured meals, trying some. And some of you initially, you might have found that you had completely gone off your food, maybe onto the sweets and away from the savories. It's just like there's a mishap from last month. It can be settling down as we do move into June. As we do move towards mid-month, you also can find that intensity can spike. Now, I would really say, especially for those of you that are empaths, to use crystals to protect yourself, to drink fluid to keep yourself hydrated. You're going to be more susceptible. So really, really, as Neptune going retrograde in your 6th house, be really careful of pacifiers and how you deal with your stress levels. Listening to guided meditation, getting earthed, taking your shoes off and putting your feet on the ground. Your frequency can be affected with that domain. And you can find that you're becoming more run down with that vibration, especially if you're burning the candle at both ends, trying to maintain a way for you to do such. And you can be a little bit more accident prone with Saturn retrograde. So keep an eye on that. Oh, what else can I tell you? Yes, I do feel some of you are wanting to go on a spiritual retreat. This can be spiritual, travel, um, starting new chapters. Some of you also can have a breakthrough with a sibling if, that was really stressing you and it was causing a bugbear. But I definitely see you really looking at the bigger picture. I do also see potentials, which I didn't really mention this earlier on in the piece. Let's get to the key points. Key points is there is a potential for some of you in connections to take a connection to the next level. There also could be some conversations. This could become more clear as we proceed through the month, but do be aware as we do move into the following month, there could be possibilities of lefts and rights. And this is particularly because you will be re-navigating it during the Venus retrograde, but we will address that as we get there. Now, I would say also there is possibilities of inheritances, but this would be an old situation. I don't feel this is a new situation. There can be money coming from partnerships, money coming from ancestry, money coming from bonds, shares, and legacies. But I also feel you're directly looking at a spiritual point of view to create more stability. Any conundrums that you had, it could lead to resolutions and solutions. I do definitely see there is a possibility for some of you where you could be getting engaged. Now, this can move through a lot further than just this month because, as I mentioned, as the nodes move, Lady Luck is opening up in your career, contract, and partnership zone. So rest assured, things are going to get better, Libra. You just can be in that recovery zone at this point. You may find over the next 6 months easy, both your self-esteem and confidence is really going to be building up again, and you doing things that bring you bliss also. We can be, as mentioned, revisiting circumstances inside our inner child. It will dissipate, and yeah, there is an opportunity here, especially to reevaluate, where is that location that you want to find home? A lot of you over the last 20 years may have had some circumstances that were directly impacting you, and you might have moved quite a bit. This could have been changes with family, misunderstandings. Those things are going to dissipate, but they could rear their ugly head just temporarily. But yet again, if you have in fact gone through a lot of spiritual changes, you may find you have more tools than you know. Go with the flow, Libra. I'll see you soon. Tell me how this lands. I'd love to hear your feedback. And I wish you lady luck and love. Take care.